Good morning, St. Katherine's. So this is Miss Jefferson, and I'm here today with Paige and Tyrese, and they're two of our equality, diversity and inclusion leaders who are in the sixth form. Today is the last day that we're celebrating Black History Month, the official Black History Month. But of course, in St. Katherine's, we're not celebrating Black History Month, we're celebrating Black history all year. And actually what we want to do all year round is to promote equality, diversity and inclusion. And one of the things that we wanted to explore today was why these values are so important, and actually to have a conversation and open up how it can feel to experience discrimination, so that all of us can try and empathize with that and understand why we need to work together to make our community a safe place. So I've got Tyrese and Paige because in conversation we've discussed how in the past both of them have experienced forms of discrimination. So Tyrese, did you want to share first some of the experiences you've had? And I think what shocked me about what you told me was that you said it was when you were at primary school that you first experienced abuse.
Well, you go through racial abuse from young age as a Black person, kind of more like as you go through. So, like, well, maybe probably the first I received racial abuse was probably like when I was like 7, maybe.
7 years old?
Yeah, 7 years old. So yeah, it was. I went to a white area, predominantly white, because well, my be away from my primary school that was in London, where I was predominantly. He wanted me to have a better.
I'm just going to mute my mic so we can hear you better.
Yeah. So but then when you move to somewhere where you're basically the only Black person, it was almost like you're the odd one out basically, and you can't help but see you are the odd one out, and then other people clock onto that, and then young people clock onto that, and I guess when something's or someone is different, young people, the only thing they know what to do is make fun, because I guess you're the odd one out and you're different, so people are always gonna be like, oh well, you're not like me, so you're worse than me, kind of thing. So it's like it's a you don't really know what to do at that age. You don't even know. You just know that it hurts, and um, but you just don't know why or how, like why you're different, because you just it's hard to clock onto it when you're at such a young age. You don't really you're naive, you're young, you haven't, so it's like, but then as a Black person you grow up, and then you see it more and more throughout your life, and then I think it hurts more later in your life, because you know people are doing it out of spite, because now they're not naive and they don't know. Like in primary school it was more like, yeah, well, they've done it on accident, but like when you're in secondary, you know that they're doing it because either they're racist or they are really really naive. So it's like um I guess you've got positions in your life where when you go into secondary school, it's harder to deal with, because you don't want to be a snitch, you don't want to be a grass, you don't want to tell everyone your business. If you receive it more time, I know that I've never really spoke about it. So it's like, I guess this kind of podcast is to tell people that you can talk to someone if you need to. Like you can, there's an EDI group who are inclusive and all of that. So you can talk to like the EDI group, and then I guess I'll help you out in that.
Yeah, so actually if there was anybody who wanted to speak to you, you wouldn't mind if anybody emailed you or emailed me and asked if they could have a conversation with you?
Yeah. If you needed to talk to you, I'm always going to be open to it, because I guess, well, I always like helping people, but the best way to contact me probably wouldn't be by email, because I don't really answer that. So yeah, if you do need help or do you need support, I'll always support you. But yeah, just not through email.
I think the thing that's interesting now is how you talked about how it hurt, and I think that was something that as a person, because of my skin color, because I experience white privilege, I experience heteronormative privilege, I haven't experienced that pain. And it's something that, in conversation with Miss Moringo, one of our former teachers here, and she's talked about the emotional pain and the hurt you feel if you are abused because of the color of your skin. Is that something you think people don't talk about enough, or that you would encourage them to talk more about?
I guess so. You could talk about it more. Well, you never know someone's circumstances. So I'm quite, when it comes to stuff like, I bottle it up and I just don't really talk about it. But for someone who's maybe has a better outlet when talking about it, then I think, yeah, you need to talk about it to somebody, because it isn't a nice thing to experience, and especially if you're not, well, thick-skinned, it can hurt a lot more. So it's, yeah, you do. It'll be good to speak about it to someone who understands. Or it doesn't need to be a leader who's just either. It doesn't matter like race or who you're talking to. Just someone who understands, who will listen to you. But sometimes I feel like when you have a leader that you can relate to, or so like maybe it was younger black boys coming to talk to me, then I feel like that you have a relationship, because you basically know where the other person is coming from. Because so I feel like, yeah, if you need to speak to it, you need to speak. If you need to speak about it, you need to speak about it with someone who, well, maybe is in the same like boat as you, who understand. Because like, at the end of the day, it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder if you're trying to explain it to someone who doesn't know, like, how it feels.
Brilliant. On that note, I think that's a perfect opportunity to introduce Paige. So what some people younger in their school may not understand or know at this point is that Paige is actually the leader of Team Pride. And Team Pride, well, I'll let you explain what it is, but it's a Paige, but it's a group which operates in the way that Tyrese has talked about, as a safe space where people can talk to other people who have experienced or who want to talk about things that are important to them. So Paige, do you want to tell us a little bit about Team Pride? And then could you also, actually building on what Tyrese said about experiences, I think the thing that struck me with what you said, Tyrese, is the way that it hurts. And I just want to be in a school community where people are hurting each other. And actually, you said not to snitch, Tyrese, but I would argue that we want to be in a school community where we challenge when other people are hurting others. Paige, I'll let you speak.
So Team Pride is kind of like a support system within school that LGBT plus kids can come to. So my brother set it up about 4 years ago, and he experienced, I would say, a fair amount of discrimination because he was a gay man in school, and at the time he was pretty much the only out person, and he was pretty well known for that. So he wanted to set up a little club where kind of people could just talk about it and acknowledge it. And I took that on because, you know, I am a part of the community and it affects my day-to-day life. So yeah, it's been going for ages, and it's a very small system. It's not huge. It's not talked about a lot, but it's there. And I'm always, you know, on my emails, I talk to multiple students daily about, you know, what they're going through, because, you know, I'm lucky. I'm in year 13 now. I'm 18, and I had a lot of experiences, but I always have friends that have experienced everything. And through that, I've learned a lot. I can really relate to Tyrese in that I wouldn't report everything because you get used to it. So I know when someone says to me, general conversations. So as soon as someone says to me like, oh, who's your boyfriend? I get sick to my stomach. You know, I feel really nervous saying, actually, I have a girlfriend. And it sounds stupid and it sounds such a small thing, but I'm used to that. So when you ask me my experiences, I have to really think about it because it's just daily things. But within the school system, it's not often spoken about, and it needs to be, because, you know, there's a lot more LGBT plus kids in this school than we know, and they're going to feel alone, and especially in a time where we can't see each other. It does worry us. I'm very lucky in that I've been with my girlfriend Ren since year 10. So, you know, it's our 4th year in school. So it's been a long time, and I've experienced very different experiences every single year. I think that's an age thing as well. And I've been really lucky in that my year group have always been amazing. I've always been really supported, and we've always been respected, really, within the school setting by our own age year. And that has really meant that we can express ourselves, and it meant that I could work for Team Pride openly. You know, it's not something I need to be ashamed of. Well, I know not everyone feels that way. So yeah, it's pretty much just a system where people can contact us, and we do, you know, last year we met up every Wednesday and we would just sit at the table and talk, and it was amazing. It's amazing to hear people's experiences. Like, even talking to Tyrese, I love it because we can talk about it and everybody can relate on a different note. And that's the thing, like Miss Jefferson always says, she says, I feel so bad because I can't relate to you directly, but as long as it's about caring and it's about listening, and by giving someone a voice that helps them, you don't have to be able to say, I've done that exactly. It's about that person having that voice. And that's what Tyrese and I want to do, is we want to make sure that everybody knows they have their voice. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you, Paige. Ellie, as head girl, is there anything that you'd like to add? So we've talked about wanting people to understand how it feels to be discriminated against and why it's important not to do that, how we want to promote equality, diversity and inclusion in school. What would your message be for the students of the school community? What is it that they can do to help make this school a place where all of us live and breathe the values of equality, diversity and inclusion? They're not words on the wall. We live in an environment where we all feel safe and celebrated. What would your message be, Ellie?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm back. I think it's about having empathy for everyone's situations and everyone's problems. I think that everyone has different things that they're dealing with, and everyone has hardships every single day, and it's all about if you haven't been through the same experience as someone else, you can still have empathy for that person and still make sure that you're listening to them, acknowledging them, listening to their voice, making sure that they're heard if they feel they can't use their voice specifically, because you might have naturally a platform higher. So like me as head girl, my aim is to make sure anyone who doesn't feel confident enough to speak because they have had situations in the school where they felt pushed down or suppressed, I want to be the person to make sure their voice is heard. So yeah, that's my aim. Yeah, just in general, making sure the school community is like a welcoming community, and if anything goes on that is homophobic, is racist, it should be dealt with and dealt with efficiently and dealt with right, like the way it should be outside and inside school.
Can I link back before we conclude and tell the people the task that we'd like them to do to contribute, like Ellie said, to give their voice to how that we make and shape the school community? Tyrese, you said you experienced racial abuse or racial slurs lower down in the school and you didn't report them. And I know, Paige, that members of the LGBT community in the school have said they've experienced homophobic slurs and haven't reported them. What would your message be to students if they hear other people using discriminatory language, even if the person themselves don't feel they can report it? What should we all do?
I guess if you don't always have to talk to, a leader of any sort, like either, I guess, a friend, a parent, or like someone like me who's willing to listen. So like, just talk to someone about it to get it dealt with. If you're comfortable talking to a teacher, talk to a teacher, because more time they know what's best. They've got a lot of older years on us, more experience with life. So yeah, I guess just make sure your voice is heard. If it's like, just don't accept it. So
I like that, Tyrese. Report it to somebody. So it might not choose someone you're comfortable with, and it might be one of the sixth formers who's spoken to you today. You need to report it so we can deal with it, because we don't want to live in a community where intolerance is accepted, because it's not. Paige, did you have a final word?
Yeah, it's mostly that. I just think people need a voice, and through having a voice, it's empowering. And like Ellie said, I'm so aware of the position I'm in, and that's why I run Team Pride. Is not to make my life better, it's to make everybody that comes to my groups better. And it is genuinely a group to support anyone. So, I'm a part of EDI because I am genuinely fighting for equality in all aspects. And I know that that's how all of these people feel. So don't ever feel like you're not in the right bracket. You're in all the brackets. You know, that's the whole point of it, is to make everybody feel safe. So talk to anyone. And there is the school email that you can sort of email about anything you've experienced. And it's not going to be as intimidating as you think. You're not going to be pulled out of class so everybody asks why. It's online, and then it's more subtle. So yeah, just find a way that suits you best and make sure you do report it. But not for yourself, do it for someone else. You're going to make someone feel safe. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you. So that's our final message, I guess. Like all three of these, for me, privileged to work with amazing young leaders, have said, make our community safe by looking after each other, by calling out things that aren't right, and by being brave like these people have and putting yourselves out there and modeling the kind of behaviors that we all want to see. Because between us, with our individual actions, we can change the world and make it a better place. On the note of asking for your voice, you're going to do an activity in a moment where we're going to ask you to contribute to the St Catherine's Charter. Everyone in the school is writing it together, and we'd like you to tell us what your ideal school looks like and feels like. What is a school where we truly live and breathe equality, diversity and inclusion? You tell us, and then together we'll make it happen. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.